Hello YouTube and welcome to the Free Thinker. There's something that has always intrigued me and is always in the back of my mind, and when I have a little time for myself to just think, be unplugged away from all the Wi-Fi and internet and be alone with my mind, and I always get to the question on what is consciousness and where does it come from. Well, after a lot of time spent thinking on the nature of consciousness and the nature of reality, I basically came to the conclusion that everything you see around you is consciousness. Now, I arrive at this conclusion in the following way. We live and have an experience in this tangible world, full of tangible materials. Yet when we delve into the nature of matter, there is no solidity to matter. Once you get down to the atomic level of a thing, there is no thingness in the atomic realm of the atomic constituents of the thing do not represent a thing. Atoms are mostly empty space, or at least you hear this saying they're 99.999% empty space, but what they are really is 99.9999% nothingness, which is different from empty space, because we'll get to this later. And when you go smaller still than the atomic level, you get to the quantum level. And we are talking about particles and wave functions and quarks and whatever. And when you go even smaller, and you end up at a scale of reality which is referred to as the Planck scale. Now, Max Planck came to this scale saying things are not indefinitely divisible. So if you have, let's say, a stick 1 yard long, and you cut it in half, you have half a yard, and you cut it in half, you have 1/4 of a yard. Now, this process cannot go on forever and ever and ever. At one point, you end up at a scale that you can no longer divide it, and this is called the Planck scale. And when we watch reality at the Planck scale, everything just disappears. There is no reality anymore. There's no time, there's no space, there's no solidity, there's nothing that is defined, there's no shape or form or whatever, and you end up in this sort of energetic soup, which the quantum physicists call the quantum foam. The quantum foam is the same as a 0-point field or a unified field or whatever. So when you then think about consciousness, which is of course present in our reality, and then you are at the level of the Planck scale of reality, then it would be very strange to say that consciousness is an emergent property from this shapeless, formless mass. Basically, you can say that the quantum foam is the raw material of which the universe is made. And then to say that consciousness emerges from it is like saying you could have a box of sand and watch for consciousness emerging from it, or stirring a pot of pebbles or rocks around and waiting for consciousness. That's not going to happen. If you are down to the most fundamental, well, it's not even elements, to the fundamental level, the quantum foam, you cannot say that consciousness is emergent. Therefore, it is either a very important part of the quantum foam, but the quantum foam has no shape, so it cannot have parts. So therefore you have to draw the conclusion that the quantum foam is consciousness itself. Again, I post this on YouTube in the hope that somebody will elaborate on my theory or prove me wrong or debate me, because everywhere I go in my immediate surroundings I just, lemmings and mindless drones, not interested in these topics at all. So therefore I give it to you on the internet. So the consequences of this conclusion are of course enormously far-reaching. To say that the quantum foam is consciousness itself, and therefore reality must be made of consciousness, then that's if you don't grasp how far-reaching that is and world-altering that is. So basically what reality then is consciousness having an experience of itself through itself. Alright? So even though I perceive myself as being separate from the world, and that the world and reality out there is separate from me, and it will exist no matter what I do. Well, this is false if you consider my model of consciousness. Consciousness is therefore created by observance, because somewhere between the state of matter and between the state of energy, there is a process going on which makes energy turn into reality. Now, there is no other way than this can happen than through the senses. So reality therefore must be illusory. Yes, a table or a seat or the computer I'm using right now is real enough. And if you get hurt or you have pain, it's real enough. But is there a physical, actual, material world beyond the senses? Or is there, like in the Matrix, an information source? The senses register the information, they decode it, and together with the brain, the actual tangible reality is created. Now this is, of course, quantum science is actually really far in describing scientifically this process and proving that this is how it works. Reality is created by being observed. Now this is incredibly hopeful for mankind, which means that if we create and want a better future for ourselves, full of love and devoid of violence and hate and anger and all of these negative things, we can build it just by thinking about it. So, well, in order to be somewhat concise, I will leave it at this, and I really hope somebody will take the time and effort to talk to me about this, or refute my theory, or improve on it, or elaborate, whatever. Just I hope for a response, and thank you very much, and see you later.